Hey there, it's Mobile Rick, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make my quick and dirty and highly nutritious sprouted brown rice. So in order to make my quick and dirty, super nutritious sprouted brown rice, obviously you need to start with some rice. I like to use this California brown rice. This is going to give you your standard short grain Japanese sticky rice. You're going to need some water, something to measure each of them out with, and it doesn't have to be a measuring cup. This is just a regular cup, and this is to prove the point about this, that it's so easy you don't even need a measuring cup. Besides these two obvious things, rice and water, we need two special ingredients. One of them is green tea. Green tea is the super special ingredient that's going to accomplish a couple of different things. One is that green tea is highly antibacterial. So anytime you're sprouting stuff, and you know how if you've ever tried sprouting stuff or if you've ever read directions about how to sprout, you might be aware that after a certain amount of soaking, you're going to end up with a rather smelly concoction. And that's because after you've activated all the enzymes and stuff and left it soak in some warm water, you're going to accumulate lots of bacteria. And some of that bacteria might actually be healthy bacteria, but the point is, all the bacteria that's accumulated there during the soaking process is going to cause some odor. However, because green tea is so antibacterial, it eliminates that problem completely. You can use this just from soaking ordinary beans, or you can try it with soaking brown rice, and you'll find it works marvelously. The second thing to add is kombu. Kombu is a type of seaweed. It's basically kelp. You can find this, well, I found this one at Whole Foods. You can find some at your nutrition store most likely, and it usually comes in little sticks like this. All you need is just a small stick. In fact, you can even get away with just a small piece. This accomplishes a couple things as well. It helps in sort of pre-digesting the rice to make it easier to digest. The sprouting does a lot to make it so much easier to digest. It's almost like eating white rice. It's so easy. Adding this adds in the effect. It also has been shown to further increase the nutritional value of the sprouted brown rice. You can look this up. Go ahead and look up germinated brown rice, GBR rice. It's also called GABA rice, G-A-B-A, because that's the main nutrient that is increased something like fourfold. And adding the kombu also adds in multiplying the nutritional effects within the sprouted brown rice. So let's show you what we do. So like I said, you're going to be really pleased to find out just how simple this process is. Just take your measuring cup, and you're going to make one portion of rice. Dump it in a pot. You're going to take 2 portions of water. Dump that in the pot. Dump that in the pot. You're done with that. So now you're going to have some rice in there with some water. Twice as much water as rice. So no matter what portions you decide to use, you can use a smaller cup or a bigger cup. It doesn't matter. You're going to use twice as much water as you use rice. Next step, green tea. Just take the bags, take 2 of them and drop them in there. And then one last thing, Take a little piece of kombu, a little bit bigger if you want. These are actually going to expand quite a bit, and you're going to end up with a large square in there after this is soaked up. So just drop those in there with the rest of it. Alright, so you can see what we have here now. We have some dry rice, which is now wet with twice as much water as rice. We have 2 green teas and a couple pieces of kombu in there. All we're going to do is we're going to put it here on the burner. We're going to turn the heat up and let it get to just about ready to boil, and then we're going to turn it off. And once we do that, we're just going to let it sit for like 12 hours with the lid on, and that's going to let it cool down from the boiling temperature and give it a nice average over that amount of time of about a little bit over lukewarm temperature, which is the optimal range for it to be in during the soaking process. So I'm starting to see some boiling in there, some bubbles. Looks good enough to me. I'm going to turn it off. That's a good temperature to make your tea. You really can just leave it in there and it'll do the job on its own. Leave the lid on there and come back in 12 hours or 8 hours, somewhere between 8 and 12 hours. I'll come check on it again and it'll be time to cook it. Alright, we're back now. And how long has this been? This has actually been about 15 hours. Actually longer than that. It's going on 16 hours now. If you're a traditional sprouter without green tea, you might expect that this is now a big smelly mess. Let's see. I don't smell anything. I smell green tea. Seriously, that's all I smell is a bunch of green tea in here. There's some bubbling going on here, meaning that there's a little bit of bacteria action, but no, it's perfectly fine, just like it always is, even when I sprout it for the normal amount of time of just 8 hours. But even after 15 hours, it doesn't smell at all. And let's see. So if we can get this to focus, you should be able to see. Yeah, there you go. See that little white area on the end of that one? That's indication that it's germinating. And you can see some of them on a few of the other ones. One right there in the middle of the screen. And yeah, there we go. Little sprouted rice. So I don't know if you were expecting little bean sprout like sprouts, but that's all we really need. So from here on out, all we're going to do is turn this on to the lowest setting. So this is what might be different from what you're used to for cooking rice. Instead of heating it in order to cook it as fast as possible, we're going to turn it all the way down until it's barely on. And that way we keep the cooking temperature. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. We're going to keep the cooking temperature really low so that we can preserve as much of the enzymes as possible, because that's one of the benefits of sprouts, is that we've now released all of the enzymes along with all the nutrition, but the enzymes themselves are also very, very nutritious to consume. So there we have it. We're going to leave this there until it's cooked. It should take about an hour and a half to 2 hours. Sometimes it's a little tricky getting it on the lowest setting without it blowing out, but this time it seems successful, so it'll probably take about 2 hours. So we'll come back then and see how it looks. Alright, so I'm back from an errand about 2 hours later. Let's see what we got here. Smells a little bit slightly on the burnt side, but pretty good. I'm absolutely sure that that's ready. These are the little pieces of kombu. See that they expanded quite a bit, and they're really hot. So you can just toss those, or you can eat them if you want. Set those aside. And see what we got here. Oh, very good, very good. Not burnt on the bottom, even though I actually like it a little bit burnt on the bottom sometimes. But otherwise, very fluffy. Probably stand to just give a little bit of a stir. And I close it up and just leave it there with the burner off. Just let it complete itself, and it'll be ready to eat. Probably 10 minutes or so. So that's all you have to do. So go ahead and enjoy yourself some extremely nutritious sprouted brown rice.